Today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. In the last episode we saw quite a lot of events happening, such as the end of the Celtic Union. We also had some further expansion by the Gold Calais country, who was getting very large at this point, and is, by far the strongest country in the world. Also saw some new countries being born out, like specifically down here in Italy and also in Iberia, and a lot more. So if you haven't watched the last video, make sure to go watch it. Make sure to like, subscribe and hype the video. I'm going to see if it makes a difference if I say it at the beginning rather than the end. I don't know, honestly, at the minute. But let's just get into it. First off, we're just going to see the Irish country actually lock in on exploring the rest of Ireland. This should have happened a few episodes ago, but it's just happening now. They discover the rest of Ireland. And with no one really to compete with them, they're basically just going to be able to take the whole thing. Now, they don't really settle everything. Mainly the, western sides of the coast aren't as settled as some of the other areas. They simply claim the rest of the island. They know what it looks like now, and there's no one else to really stop the claim. Like, there's no one else who owns any land on Ireland, so they can just take the whole thing. And they do build two major cities. They build one near the coast over here, and they build a more inland one right here. Also have a similar event happening up in Scotland, as they just simply claim the rest of the Scottish mainland over here. They also claim a few of these islands, but there's no one ready to stop them from doing so they just do it. I guess Ireland could have done it really, but I don't think they really have any interest in doing it, so it's just simply going to go to Scotland, and Ireland isn't really going to care. Then coming on to Iberia, we actually see some more exploration taking place, as these two countries officially link up now by connecting through this river area, and we see some trade routes, things getting starting to get made from these countries. And this guy is also going to make a capital city. It's probably long overdue, but they are finally going to choose this city to be their capital. We're also going to see a lot more of Iberia in the, more southern areas start to get discovered. The, I guess you could call this the Basque country. They're going to really lock in on exploring a lot of this area, as they are going to basically just send a load of different exploration groups to discover the rest of Iberia, and they're able to get through some of the more mountainy areas now. The technology has advanced to a point where they can probably do that, although it is a lot more slow of a process than just like going down the coast, which the Catalonian country is going to just do. As we have a lot of people starting to move to these more areas down here, Catalonia isn't really interested in expanding. They're fine with how they are at the minute. These Iberian countries are more interested in trade than actual expansion, which is what they've been doing, especially with the Italian countries over here, which actually mainland Europe doesn't know anything about the Italian countries. I don't mean these guys know about them because they're a lot closer in proximity, but the Calais country doesn't, and pretty much you draw a line, and everything here doesn't really know about much down here. Like, Calais knows about the Iberian countries, so you could kind of include it something like this, but actually it'd be more like, I am confused. But all the information in the world at the minute is coming from Calais. This is, I guess you could say, the Library of Alexandria. We have the Library of Calais, and that's where basically all the world's information at this point is stored. And no, we're not going to have a fire of the Library of Calais. That's not going to happen in this timeline, or will it? All I'm going to say is that these guys know about Iberia, but they don't know about Italy or anything else, and it's just going to be that way for a bit. But coming back to Iberia, we do have a lot more exploration around the coast now being done by the, why did I call it the Leon country? The Basque country. And I'm going to speed this process up a bit, but it does take a couple of years. They are able to explore a lot more deeper into Iberia, even reaching some of the more southern areas and completely discovering the entirety of, Iberia. They know about this Moroccan area, but they think it's just like a small island, so they don't really want to go to it. And these guys are actually going to do a small expansion. I'll show you what that's going to look like now. That's going to look something like this. They take all of this land around this region, which makes them quite a lot bigger. And in the next few years, a new major city is created over here in this region. That's not going to be it for countries, as we do see another one formed on here. This is going to be the, Galician Portuguese country. They build two settlements quite quickly. They're not really big settlements, but this one with the river next to the ocean here, this is going to be their capital. And over here, we also see a new Valencian country be formed. And the borders are going to look something like this. Now, these guys aren't really that big, but they are quite rich because of the trade system in Iberia. It's quite good. These guys are actually going to be they're just going to have one city. That's because these guys are mainly just farmers, and the only city is this city here, which they are going to make the capital city, because that's kind of like a tradition in Iberia. You should have a capital city. Most of this country is just farmers who came down here to, farm the area for all its resources, and then they sell it to the rest of Iberia. We also have the Balearic Islands eventually being discovered. I mean, this is always going to happen. We just have the Green country, Valencia country, just colonise Ibiza. Now coming over a little bit more east to Italy, we're going to see a bit of expansion being done by a few nations. Most notably, a lot of exploration is going to be done by the Pisa country, which is what I'm going to call them now because it's such a good name. And their expansion is going to look something like this. So they are a very big North Italian country, and they build two new cities. They build this Venice one over here, and this one that's actually quite close to the capital. Then they're going to do something a bit controversial and land some ships down in Corsica. They know it exists now, it's explored obviously. This is controversial because the Florence country actually wanted to do it too, and too bad, you just missed your opportunity. You also see expansion done, or exploration, not really expansion, down into Sardinia. They're not really interested in expanding into it at the minute, but they're just going to explore a bit of it. At this point, there's a lot of tension between the Florence country and the Pisa country. The Rome country isn't really involved in it. But Pisa is probably about like 4 times the strength of Florence, so they're not really going to be able to do anything about it. But Florence is also a lot more stable than Pisa because they don't expand quite as much. So you can look at it in a few ways. But staying in Italy for just one more minute, we are going to see the a lot more of southern Italy, if not the rest of South Italy, be explored. This is done by all the Italian countries, even Pisa, yes. We have the entirety of Italy being discovered finally, or mainland Italy, but they do make a few small excursions into Sicily. And we are going to see a country formed down here, and this is actually going to be the Naples country. And they're actually quite built up for how small they are. They're a decently rich country, they have a lot of trade coming down to them, so they have 2 major cities actually, which is quite interesting. And they are going to make a capital. And they're going to have the capital be here down in Naples. Anyway, we're finally going to see something a bit more interesting and expansion happening now. As we come over to Brittany, and we have a rebellion starting. The Brittany country was around for a few seconds in the last episode, but it got wiped out very quickly by the Cornish country. But they're back. Brittany has one of the most nationalistic populations in the world, and they want to, well, bring back the Brittany, I guess, tribal collection, whatever you want to call it. And by the time that, I guess, the king at this point of Cornwall hears about this, Brittany has been completely consolidated by the rebellion. So what's the king going to do? Well, he's going to prepare a massive armada to be sent down to the Brittany coast. And he does do that, and it successfully lands over here and takes over this pretty valuable city. And they start to head to, I guess, the capital of this area here. However, in these moments, Brittany will cry out to an ally, and that's actually Wales. Wales has a very big hate for Cornwall, as they believe that Cornwall is the reason that the Celtic Union ended and that they lost the war. So when Wales has an opportunity to attack the Cornish, they accept, obviously. We have the Welsh invading into this Somerset area over here in Cornwall, and start to advance very quickly down the Bristol Channel, and this won't last forever as the Cornish are going to eventually move military, as the Cornish are eventually going to move some of their army over here to fight back against Wales. However, this is going to lead to a lot of troops having to leave this Brittany area. However, they still are advancing at the minute, and they do manage to take over the city. But in the next coming weeks, Brittany will start to have a bit more success against the Cornish country. I actually managed to cut the army in 2, and the Welsh front line is actually going to get stalemated. But the Brittany front line is moving in favour of the Brittany country, and guess why that is? That is actually because Calais is helping out Brittany. Cornwall see this as a pretty big betrayal, as they had decent relations with Calais before. They saw themselves as actually like the new Calais. Cornwall saw themselves as like a Calais of their own, where they want to expand very rapidly like Calais has done, but Calais is not having any expansionist countries in mainland Europe. They see mainland Europe as theirs and only theirs, and they don't want any other countries really to be in it, which are actually making a new country, but that's kind of contradicting. However, eventually the Cornish are going to be able to push over to the Welsh border. However, exactly when that happens, the Britons are actually going to completely kick the Cornish out of their country. Now the Welsh front line will eventually just become a stalemate, and we basically just see a white peace be signed. Not really white peace, but a white peace between Cornwall and Wales. Wales won't gain any land, and Cornwall won't gain any either. However, they do have a big loss in Brittany down here. Brittany is now finally a country, like for proper this time, and the capital is going to be right here. Wait, what? The Chileans invade Brittany straight away after it's created, and that is the reason they helped Brittany, because they didn't want to go up against Cornwall. They didn't want to fight these guys, because it would be probably quite a costly war to fight. You know, Cornwall is a lot stronger than Brittany is. So they waited for them to lose, and then they invade and strike the rest of Brittany. It was a pretty smart plan, to be honest. But yeah, the Brittany country is once again colonised by the Calais, and yeah, they could just not catch a break. They are really the Poland of the series so far. And with this new land, the Calais country is going to go ahead and connect up with the dark red country here. Now they're basically just going to say, hey, give us a bit of land and we will guarantee your independence. And the dark red country is terrified of Calais, considering what happened to Paris, so they are going to just give them this northern land here and still exist. And why do they want this land? That's because they build a actual pretty big city down here. That was their whole sort of plan all along. But after this, we do actually see a pretty big event happening. And that's that a lot of mainland Europe is going to start to be discovered. This is done by all the nations in Europe, although Germany is mainly discovered by the Hanover country. But Calais is the biggest, I guess, participator in this event, and they're going to very quickly explore a lot of this area, and they do actually bump into the Italian countries down here. And even though Pisa is very expansionist, they don't really see it as a problem, because this is like hundreds of miles away from their territory, so they can, like they don't care until they actually, like, reach down here. However, this is one of the biggest events in history so far, or I don't mean like big, like as in it's a huge event. It's more so like a big participation with a bunch of nations. And when the Italian countries hear about this, they even start doing it as well, as they will start to explore, and they're not quite able to go through the Alps yet. These guys aren't quite able to go through the Alps yet, but they will actually connect up with the Northern Europeans. And the non-discovered Alp territory is actually going to be shrunken down a lot, as the Europeans will start to very quickly expand or explore into Eastern Europe. This is known as the Great March East. The Germans are going to do something quite interesting, and that's that a large group of the people are actually going to be leaving the country. That's just a group of about 10,000. It's actually quite a lot of people. Reference, I'd say the German country probably has about maybe 100,000 people living in it at most. So 10,000 people living in the country, that's 10% of your population, and that's going to hurt them quite a bit. But these people did not agree with the government at all. A lot of them are actually from the Dutch area over here. They came to Germany because they were going to get killed in Calais, and they still don't like the German government, so they're going to decide to set up their own country. As they will go and march down south, just over here, or I guess more southeast. And no, I'm not going to call this the Great March Southeast because I've done too many Great Marches. If you notice, I think there's been a Great March for every direction. I don't know if there's been a Great March North, but if there has, then cool. And actually, in the comments, I'll see if you guys can actually know which episode every single Great March was in, because I actually can't. We do see these guys march down south over here. I don't know, just walk down south. They do avoid Transylvania, and it's starting to take maybe about a year or two at this point. They do set up camp at some points of the stop, but eventually they do arrive down here in Greece. And once they arrive down in Greece, we see them start to settle, and it's not just going to be one country, it's going to be quite a lot of countries. They reach like Greece and they say, oh, this is like the most southern point in the world, that's what they believe. Because there's a pretty big ocean over here, they don't believe there's anything more south than Greece, and they discover all of the Greek island over here, and it's quite hot and nice, so they decide to stay in this region. But all this area will be very quickly discovered within the next couple of years. We see 3 Greek states being created. We have the Athens one down here, we have this, whatever it's called, I don't know what this area is called. And then we have the Macedonians. We'll take a look at the major cities. It takes us a few years to do it, doesn't just happen straight away. We see that all of these nations gain at least a few of these guys only have one. And they're going to make it their capital because they don't really have anything else to do. We also have the Macedonians making this their capital. And the Athens country is obviously going to make this their capital down here. So my PC crashed like halfway through the recording and I wasn't able to save the map or anything. So I just tried to recreate the map as good as I possibly can. There may be a few mistakes, but unfortunately we're just going to have to deal with that. Anyway, I believe we're talking about the Greek city-states last time, so let's just continue to talk about them. We see a few actually interesting things happening like very soon after this. Firstly, we have some people leaving the Italian peninsula and actually crossing into Albania, and they set up a country over here. As we see this purple Albania country being created, and they have one major city right here. They don't quite have a capital yet though, because they're not like advanced enough. But they are pretty decently expansionist, and I'm actually going to split this up into 2 countries. These guys are sort of separated, and they get along okay, but not like greatly, so they don't really want to be together. We'll also see something happen down here in this area. I forgot what it's called. We have some more Italian people actually settling down here in this Greek attached area, island I guess, but it's not really an island. They're going to make a deal with the Athens country to split up the rest of it. This is what we end up seeing in the deal here. And yeah, Eastern Europe is a lot more colonised and explored now, which is always good to see. Anyway, coming over to Germany, they are going to do a few things. As their population is still growing, even though they did lose quite a bit when they went down to Greece, they are going to expand a little bit. They do actually like double the size of their country. I think they could even triple it. But they expanded to all of this land here. They're now a lot bigger of a country, and they also built a few like small settlements along the rivers, and they also build one in the coast over here. In terms of exploration, they also continue as they discover the rest of Copenhagen over here, and also cross into southern Sweden. But we're actually going to see a few countries form over here in Denmark, as this area is actually starting to get a pretty big rush of population. So let's take a look at what happens here. So we see 3 countries forming straight off the bat. First off, we see this brown Copenhagen country forming. These guys are most likely the strongest out of all 3. We then see this sort of bluish northern Danish country, and I'm going to give them a tiny bit more land that looks something like this. Then see this blue Danish country actually forming. They are probably the weakest. And then finally we see this pink country forming here, and I'm just going to give the rest of this to the Hanover country. But now today I'm going to take a look at major cities forming in 3, 2, 1. There we go. These are all the major cities that are going to be forming, and they're all going to have capitals. The Copenhagen country is going to have theirs in Copenhagen, which is unsurprising. And then see this blue country up here. They're going to have theirs in the steppe area, which is their only major city, and the pink country is going to have theirs here. Yeah, that's all the major cities for this country. Now I'm going to take a look at a little bit more exploration. Now this doesn't happen very quickly, I'm just showing it quickly on the map because it's going to look kind of ugly, but we do see the rest of this land eventually get discovered. We have the rest of the Adriatic getting discovered, in which then they'll start to work around these areas and sort of like, I guess, sort of map out the area that the people travel down. However, this does take like a few decades to do, and it doesn't happen very quickly. We also see the German country explore past this area and actually start to explore into Poland as well, which is quite interesting. Yeah, a lot more of Eastern Europe is very quickly getting discovered, which is good for the series if you like the Eastern Europe area. But now we're going to move to a completely different area of the world because we see something very interesting happening. Before our final event of today's video, we see something quite consequential happening. As the Pisan country is actually going to expand past Florence over here and take all of this land. Now that's actually the wrong shade of yellow, so I'm just going to change it. But they're not just going to do that, they're also going to expand over here across like some areas of the Adriatic. And these guys are very much just too big at this point, and there's too many people living in this country, and there's not like, these guys are too big at this point, the population doesn't support all of this expansion, and these guys are getting very, very unstable. And we then have a few rebellions starting off in this country because of a pretty unfortunate event happening that is actually a huge famine. The country's not able to get enough food to support itself because they don't have very good relations with any of the other countries in Italy, or should I just say the rest of the world in general. So what we see happening is this Venice area over here rebelling away from the yellow country, as well as this pinkish one over here in this like Genoan sort of Monacan area. And this cuts off many areas inside the Pisan country, but that's not all. As seeing as an opportunity, the Florentines are going to start to move into Pisan territory in hopes of grabbing some land. That's going to be where we end off for today's video. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and make sure to like, subscribe and hype the video, because this is the second time I'm saying it in the video. I'm doing a lot of pushes in this video. Make sure to do this because make sure to do that because it helps support the channel a lot, and you'll never miss a future upload. But anyway, once again, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. But anyway, once again, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.